without the car light, in like total pitch darkness. Yeah, this is. If I had a daily highway drive, this would look cool. No car light or nothing. But yeah, plan for tonight. A bit of a later lift. I can tell my quads are still residually wrecked from that last set of freaking squats, and the concurrent workout after it down at gym therapy. So today's going to be hams and calves, and I'll see how my hamstrings feel, because they're even a little bit extra cooked. I could kind of feel it on the bike during cardio today. That's sometimes a little bit of a gauge for me to be able to say, it's like, okay, how are my hamstrings, how are my legs overall feeling? And I could feel them a little, so we'll see. But calves definitely need a proper thrashing. They're not bad for me, so I kind of just throw some calves in every so often. I mean, like, really, when I'm at the gym, just between reps or between sets of things, just throw in some calves, kind of just to give myself the exposure to some sets. But I haven't had like a full-on, 8 direct, like, focused, calf day workout for a little freaking while. So I think they deserve a bit of beefing up. So hams first, calves after. I think that's what I'm thinking. So yeah, I haven't come to the gym this late for I don't know how long. And yeah, I mean, if you've been watching for a long time, you'd remember way back, like 2-ish years ago, where I'd say, oh shit, early lift today. Going to the gym at 11:30 p.m. Actually gonna go to sleep on time. Yeah, but no. So the plan for tomorrow, which I guess by the time this is posted would technically be today, is we're gonna fly out and get the booth all set up for the Fit Expo, and that'll be fun. The only ones I've ever been to are, apart from some bodybuilding shows that ended up, kind of tagging a bit of an expo along, and by tagging I mean really putting some big stuff together, like the Pittsburgh Pro did. But with the Arnold and the Olympia, that's kind of my only exposure. I've never been to a Fit Expo. So this will be fun. The floor plan is extra freaking huge. So my plan will be, I'll camp out of the booth for a couple hours, eat lunch, finish, and then probably get a lift either in the morning or at night afterwards. Probably in the morning is going to be my best bet, just so I don't have to worry about it and I can go to bed. Yeah. Well, I go to bed on time afterward. But yeah, I think nothing else to say. A little bit of a quicker lift. Let's just save some calf skipping banter for later. I don't need to bash anybody right off the freaking rip. But let's get in there. It would seem that I may have overdone it with those squats. Not to the point of like tweaking myself, but I mean shit. It's been like it's been four full days, plus a rest day too, and I'm still feeling them quads and hams. But I'm okay with that. There's a difference between, like, oh shit, I tweaked myself, hit my rotator, hit my whatever, but like just kind of overall fatigue from knowing you brought it like a nutcase. I'm cool with that. And not only like in my regular training am I cool with that, but I just like that in general. Like for me to be able to say, oh, I went too hard, I've got to take an extra day to really recuperate and like not be lying about it. I think there's a lot of rest days that are taken unnecessarily, just they're kind of pretending like, oh yeah, I need to have to take like a legit kind of portion off from going that nuts. That makes me feel cool, right? That makes me feel kind of good about the working out, and it just gets me going to go extra hard on a continual kind of basis, right? With the working out, I mean, as much as it's we're all talking, it's like, okay, make sure you're doing the best routine and the best movements and the best this and everything totally perfect. You got to like it, right? So if you've got a certain itch that you need to scratch with your training, or maybe you love supersets, you love nasty sets of easy bar curls or pull downs or whatever, you love doing you bent over rows, and you're really just, if you like it, you get pumped and you're not hurting yourself, anybody telling you off is kind of just being a hater at that point. But I'm going to camp out here on this donkey calf raise. Just the stack will be good, but this machine can like have plates added. I think this will be just about enough. And then I'll probably just splice between these since I'm just going to do calves today. Not a ton to see, but at the end they should be pretty swollen. So honestly, we'll probably just do like a quick couple second montage of each set. Then we just cut straight to the pump. You know, not so much to see. All right. Okay. 2 more of those. All right, so those were a bit lighter squeezing, or at least, squeezing. So I still like hitting calves a little more brutishly with kind of just heavier weight bounced around. And it's definitely different. Like, it's not the same squeeze, hold, burn as with those sets with a hold at the top. But just from having, that much tension through my calves, I mean, they end up getting freaking wrecked. So using the 2 styles in combination, I think is a pretty good approach. Okay. Ooh. All right, I gotta drop the weight. That's a little too much. I'll make this one single leg a little different. Okay. Oh. Yeah, these are good. Especially pre-exhausting with the squeezing sets too. Because the more cooked my calves get, I don't really have that same ability to squeeze when they're pumped. Like when I'm doing triceps, I want to start with the rope or with extra long D handles and start with the real squeezing, burning sets. Because once my triceps get pumped, I can't really even get that full squeeze or even like the full kind of range of motion. My triceps almost like running into itself, and I can't go as hard at the bottom. So I'm taking a similar approach with calves. I feel like I always end up comparing different movements back to triceps. I wonder what that tells me. But one more. Okay. Okay. All right. Like all body parts, calves are definitely the coolest when you're dieted down, but pumped up, they've still got a little extra oomph to them. So, let's see, you tell me. Compared to my, yeah, I really gotta freaking hike these things up. But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty decent separation from knee to, thickest portion of the calf, which is really what I'm aiming for. Because in terms of overall size, like this is kind of what you want. Hitting all these certain kind of whatever sort of poses, just having them be like in line, And I mean, I'm sure I've got my own personal grading scale and just like ability to judge like, how the flow of my own build looks like based on, the size and proportion of everything. But I'm still kind of subject to all of the freaking, sort of just ideas about what a good build looks like that I've heard, everybody else say before me, But I feel pretty comfortable with my calves. And once I'm extra lean, that's when they really jump out, because I'm talking like side striations, even just like standing up to bend over to pick something up, seeing all this sort of tibialis jump out and like kind of just have all sorts of striations and lines. Yeah, that's good. But a little quick late one. This basically counts as a rest day. I doubt my central nervous system has taken much of a hit from those sets of calves. Let's get in the car. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, a little more of a chill day. Actually, yeah, shit. I was about to say a little more of a chill day never hurt anybody, but I think that's truer than we freaking realize. Yeah, but no, this is gonna be good. I am excited for freaking tomorrow. I'm getting antsy, just because I already talked about it enough yesterday with headed down to the Expo, but I'm excited to see everybody. I haven't run into like some serious ass freaks. I mean, really since Pittsburgh, and that was pretty much top tier too. I mean, I ended up getting to walk back and saw, yeah, who was Nick Walker? Did he win that? Or did he get... I don't remember. But either way, getting to go backstage and see all the open guys, I mean, just a different ass freaking ball game. Personally, and this is half just based on like what I think is like good and achievable for me specifically, I think I'm going to end up much more classic. Keep it classical, my boy. That's what I'm thinking. But it does not mean that the size will end. But I want to kind of keep packing it on with some feng shui, right? I mean, you can throw the most expensive couch and TV set and dining table and whatever, but if everything doesn't flow well, you're kind of missing the point, Like there's a certain value, I think, to just having everything in at least decent kind of proportion. So I guess this is turning on. Well, I guess this is a little. I can't really say leg skipper because technically I just skipped legs today. Now, my logic is that I want to give him some more time to recover from the last leg day, but I think that still counts as a skip nonetheless. Well, it helps that I at least hit him normally, right? Except for, taking the occasional leg day off to come back stronger. But it's like if you've got a crazy upper body and then your lower body is lacking, eesh. You lost me, right? You got huge arms, but your forearms are on the thinner side. Not cool either. It's almost a certain kind of obligation you have to your lacking body parts to really thrash them, to bring them up and almost make them the ones that you're most excited about. For me, at least, when it comes to arm training, because at least arms are two direct muscles, you can probably have a preference for one or the other, and I think I probably used to be more excited about the bicep portion. Bigger biceps, bigger arms. That's kind of the immediate thought process. Nobody thinks of doing a double bicep shot or a bicep flex as being a tricep pose as well, right? We're all getting biceps the freaking spotlight. And now since I think but since I know my triceps have been lacking historically, I'm more excited about the tricep portion. And it must be some sort of like conditioning in my mind of thinking like, okay, well, the thing that I really want to build is this, so I want to be extra excited about hitting it so that I can continue to build it up and, get it back to proportion where I want it, But either way, so if you know a guy whose rear delts are not capped at all, tell him to chill out on the overhead shoulder press. Tell him to chill out on, on the front raises. And he could probably spend a little bit more time hanging out on the reverse pec deck, doing some bent over cable flies or dumbbell flies, or, just hit some laying face pulls. If I had to pick one movement forever for my rear delts, which honestly isn't really super necessary just because they're big enough relative to my, arms and back and chest, but if I had to pick just one, the laying face pull is pretty much it, because I can load it pretty well, but I can also go light and squeeze it too. So it's almost like getting two movements in one. It's like you can do a really hefty leg extension, 15 reps to failure, or you could cut that weight by literally 2/3, do like, maybe double, almost triple the reps and really squeeze and burn them. And then that's a completely different freaking set entirely, which is something that I think doesn't get very much discussion right now, at least. Essentially the logic of, okay, I want to train as accurately as I can. I'm a beginner. What do? Is, picking very simplified, or not simplified, but very directly loaded movements, right? Rather than trying to do a chest press, attach the weight just at your arm so you don't have to worry about like thinking about pushing force through your hands and it's all chest. I definitely get the logic there. But, I'm not seeing any love for distinguishing the kind of sets that different movements can have just based on, the amount of weight that you're doing. I think it's this idea that for every movement there is a perfect weight where you have a certain rep in reserve and it's a weight you can perfectly manage and you're never swinging and it's just totally super controlled. And if that was true and every set that I've ever done was absolute rubbish and I didn't make any gains, and the only thing that worked was if I would grab the 20-pound dumbbells and do like, a 5-second hold, squeeze, slow. If that was all that worked, well, guess what? That would be all I would do. You know what I'm saying? So it's just something where I think you're better off trying to figure it out for yourself rather than just, listening to a cookie cutter approach by somebody else where, they're not even motivated to tell you exactly what they really think. Half of it, if you see somebody telling you how to train and then they're also selling you a training program, would you not think that there is a monetary incentive to just try to get you to listen to whatever they're saying, regardless of its value? I'm not saying that's always the case. I think a lot of programs that get, the guys are putting out are like customly curating. Like if you have a coach, I think a lot of them are probably pretty good, But it's something to think about. I think having a reasonable skepticism when you're listening to somebody work out and tell you how to work out, even if there's somebody way bigger than you who you like really look up to and like, it's still got to be able to apply to what you can do and what you can like. So that's where I'm always not jealous, but I'm always going to be a little bit what's the word I'm thinking of? Well, I'm always going to lean, I guess, like a little bit of favoritism towards the guys who, I don't want to say get it, but I kind of do want to say get it. The guys who can basically, come into the gym and totally off the cuff come up with their own kind of workout that they know that they're going to like based on their own training history and everything they've ever done in different sets, because they don't have to be tied down to like a certain, boxed in kind of thought process of what working out is for them, because they get the gist that if their effort is there and if their pre-gym preparation was there, hydration, rest, food, recovery, pre-workout, a solid caffeination where you're still feeling it, but you're not like, doing 700 milligrams pre-lift, then, shit, I could get I'll probably eventually have to do this just out of necessity sometime that a gym wouldn't be around, but I would have no problem if somebody said, Sam, you got chest today, you're not allowed to go to the gym. You got to do a body weight chest workout at home. I'd probably get a wild ass freaking pump. If somebody said, Sam, you can't come to the gym today, you just have to figure out how to hit arms at home with whatever you've got available to you. Easy. And I'm not saying it's going to be super conventional, but look, I want to be the lifter where you can put me into a freaking, room of solitary confinement, and I'll still find a way to get a pump in whichever body part I was supposed to be hitting that day, and do it to my satisfaction. Do it and still say, yeah, that was good. I don't need no freaking weights or racks or dumbbells or anything. Now, that's not my go-to. That's not my go-to approach. But I hope you kind of get the sentiment that I'm kind of getting at. Because if you really want it, then what can stand in your way from getting it? But yeah, all that's to say is, unless you actually really know I better lay off today, come back stronger tomorrow, which is a totally valid take. I'm not anti-rest day. I'm just anti-unnecessary rest day. Because there's a difference between, I really went crazy hard the last couple days. I think a little bit of recuperation is in order. Versus, I'm not really feeling like it right now. Rest day. Just because those are the exact same options doesn't mean that it's the same situation by a freaking long shot. So that's something to consider, right? If you or a loved one is considering taking a rest day, right, ask yourself this. And this could be anyone who you look up to who really works that hard, but it's would Rich Piana take a rest day? Would Chris Bumstead take a rest day? Would Sam take a rest day? Would Larry Wheels take a rest day? Would insert whoever is a freaking total beast in your mind, would he take a rest day? Would Baki take a rest day? Pretty damn sure he would not. But that doesn't mean no, he would never take it. It means, let's look at this objectively. Should I hit legs or should I blank? Should I do a crazy chest day? It's something that requires discretion. That's my main point that I'm trying to get at there. But I can tell that when I get out of the car, my calves are going to be extra tight, because when I'm sitting in the car, my calves are actually a little bit contracted, because I'm not standing up straight with my feet at like 90 degrees to each other. They're kind of like in a reclined position. So if when I get out of the car after I get home, I can stand up and really feel that they're still kind of tense and just full of freaking everything, that's a good sign. That's a good sign that I did a little bit of something calf-wise. So, plan for tomorrow, not exactly sure. Going to get an earlier lift in, but shit, I guess I'll just have to see that.